Hello, everybody. This is Douglas Auclair, known online as Joff. I'm owner of the company Logical Graphs. And today we're going to be talking about the Nolus protocol and what it means to lease assets and how to go about doing that. I'm going to be using for the example today, stars based off of Sumo's prediction that stars is going to go up. Is it going to go up? I don't know. There's some good indicators for it, as it's gone up some this year already. But does that mean it's going to keep going up so that it becomes profitable as a leasing opportunity? I don't know. So that's something that we're going to find out over a period of time, more than just this video. So we're going to see how to lease assets. Leasing assets take more than just one transaction. What does leasing assets entail on the Nolus protocol and how to go about doing it? Okay, let's get started. Okay, first of all, the Nolus protocol. The Nolus protocol has a series of pages, assets, leases for leasing assets, which shows you nothing until you get into the leasing of it. Earning, where you can earn off of deposits that you make of Axel USDC and the Nolus token itself, NLS. History of your transactions, and voting on anything within the protocol. Okay, so first of all, in order to work, Nolus, besides being a protocol, is also a zone in the Cosmos ecosystem. So in order to do anything, the gas token for Nolus is the Nolus token. You see that I have Nolus tokens available to me, but how do you get started in Nolus if you don't have Nolus tokens to get started with? My recommendation is to purchase some Nolus tokens by trading whatever assets you have on the Osmosis blockchain by using the Osmosis DEX to trade to Nolus. So you see that right now, trading right now, I can with two Osmo tokens buy 42 Nolus tokens. So let's do that. So what I do here is go to my portfolio, go to coin conversions and set it up. Osmosis is trading at 145 right now, as you see right here. So I record this information. This is how I do my work. I'm going to be trading two tokens, first in Nolus tokens, approximately 42.7 Nolus tokens. And we'll see exactly how much after the trade completes. Don't have a fee yet. And this is for transactional costs. So let's do the trade. So besides requiring to have Nolus tokens to do transactions on the Nolus protocol, you're also probably going to have to do trades on Osmosis or Alexar in order to get assets over to the Nolus protocol and blockchain. And we'll talk about that as the situation arises. But Nolus certainly is something that can be operated independently of anything else. Sure. But it is part of the Cosmos zone. So being part of the Cosmos zone, you're probably going to want to have some access into the Osmosis zone. So you're probably going to want some Osmosis tokens on the Osmosis zone. I'm not going to cover how you do that. You have to figure that out for yourself already. But then you do need Nolus tokens on the Nolus blockchain. And so how you get them there is one way to get them there is to buy some Nolus tokens on Osmosis Zone and then withdraw them to your Nolus address. So I'm going to withdraw the Nolus tokens that I just purchased and put them onto the Nolus blockchain. and this transaction is going in progress. First, I want to connect to the blockchain. Okay, great. And now I'm going to withdraw the tokens to that blockchain. So under transfers of tokens, time is now 9:03 p.m. I transferred these many Nolus tokens. Nolus is trading at the price of 6.8 cents. And if you have any questions on what I'm doing as I'm doing it, I'm going it kind of fast. Because this is video, you can slow the video, stop, repeat it to get further essay into it. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment here on the YouTube video or follow me at Logical Graphs on Twitter. And once you follow me, you can post queries there. Okay, so transferred 42 tokens. The fee was that much Osmosis. This is going from Osmosis to Nolus. Osmosis is trading at 145. And so those are my fees, and that's the basis. All right. So if I did not have any tokens on Nolus, I do, but so I already had 21 tokens, but I just transferred 42 more Nolus tokens to the Nolus blockchain. And so you see 21, and I now have about 40 more Nolus tokens there. Boom. One thing that you can do with it, I use the Nolus tokens as paying for gas of the transactions that I do on the Nolus blockchain. And the gas is very cheap on Nolus. So it's a fraction of a Nolus to do transactions. Another thing that you can do, if you so decide to, is to put some Nolus tokens into the Earn tab of the protocol. It's earning 12% right now, paid in Nolus. And I got these 2,600 Nolus tokens when they were trading at around 1 or 2 cents. So not only am I getting at 12% interest, but also the value of the Nolus token has grown about by a factor of about 3 in the last 6 to 12 months, which is a really good sign for the protocol. If a protocol token is going up as opposed to going down over time, that's a good sign for the health of the protocol. For example, Osmo had been going down and down and down over years, periods of time, and then suddenly it leaped up to what it is now from less than 30 cents, even around 20 cents. So Osmosis has grown almost like 8 to 10 times. So boom. But with this deposit here, I've earned some rewards that I have to claim in order to get. Well, I have some gas. I'm going to leave these rewards for later. I'm not talking about claiming rewards on Nolus with this video. This video is going to be focused on how to lease assets. Now, what you can do is go to their knowledge hub and learn about what is Nolus, and then what is leasing. So that's what I would recommend instead of relying on my description of how leasing assets work, because it's going to come from my perspective. Go to the documentation and understand it from what the people who invented the thing, how they perceive that. But okay, so I want to lease stars. So if we look under the assets, stars is one of the assets that can be leased. And I want to lease stars. But here's the neat thing about leasing. Leasing asset is that you put a down payment on, let's say stars are trading at around 3 cents per. And I want to lease around 100 USDC's worth of stars. I can lease stars, let's call up the screen, with any collateral that's listed here. So I can lease stars with Bitcoin if I wanted to, or I could lease stars with Axel USDC. I have make sure I'm connected. I have 46 Axel USDC already on the protocol. We're going to talk about how to transfer liquidity to the protocol in a moment, besides via Osmosis Zone for transferring Nolus tokens. You'll note that Nolus tokens are not a collateral that you can use for leasing. So having Nolus tokens on the protocol does not give you any leasing power or borrowing power at all. So I want to lease stars, and I'm going to lease stars with Axel USDC. So let's say I'm going to lease all, I'm going to use all my collateral as lease, and I want to lease stars. It tells me how much I can lease. Now, if you look at this here, let's do a rough computation. But it also tells you, if you look at this here, it tells you that you're leasing, you're paying for $46 worth of stars, but 3,000 stars in and of itself is around $100 worth. So you're borrowing an additional $70 worth of stars. Amount of USD in stable coins that will be borrowed for the DeFi release position. Least interest rate, normally it's 16, 17%. Currently, they are allowing you to lease assets at 0%. Now, this is a special that they have running to get you interested in leasing assets. So they're providing this service to you currently at 0%. I believe this offer goes away January 31st. Check for yourself. So normally it's at 16%. So 16, 17%. So this is another factor. When you're leasing an asset, you want the asset that you're leasing to grow faster than 17% per annum for you to be able to break even. And then it tells you what will happen if stars goes below 2.5 cents. You'll get partially liquidated. 33% of your position will be liquidated if it falls below that price. So there is that, and you can adjust so that, look, if you adjust it down further, this is the full amount of leverage that you can use. If you reduce the leverage to around 2x, then your partial liquidation trigger goes all the way down to 2 cents per, 1.79. And it says the collateral price, which will trigger a partial liquidation. And when it does fall below that price, then you get partially liquidated. And the partial liquidation is around 52%. Okay. And then swap fee is 27 cents. So that's also a consideration that you have to take into account. I'm not going to lease just $46 worth. I'm gonna lease. I'm going to lease around $100 worth, which I'm doing here. So actually this is cool. Let's bring this down to 40. And so I'm going to borrow 60. That means later when I want to close this position, I can close this position partially by saying, okay, I'm done with this leased position, just close it out. And then whatever the collateral versus the value of the value of the token, They'll say, okay, we can completely close it out and you get nothing, or we can completely close it out and you get some stars, or we can't completely close it out because the value of stars has fallen down to this value here, so you owe this amount. Or you can close the position completely by providing the additional $60. What's the magic of the $60 here? Let's say stars is now three cents per. Let's say stars wildly goes up to 80 cents per. You're still going to owe $60 worth to get this. I'm showing Osmo. Let me put it to stars. You're still going to pay only $60 worth to close out a position on 2,600 stars, so that if it goes up to 80 cents per, you still only have to pay $60 to close out that position completely. That's the power of this leasing approach. That is, you open the position right now. You say, okay, I'm going to pay you collateral of $40 right now. You're going to borrow $60 worth. So you're going to have a total of 2.6K worth of stars leased. And we'll talk about what that means in a moment. They don't actually give you those tokens. There's something that goes on with that. But when you want to close out that position, all you have to do is pay the $60. And even if it goes up by a factor of 25, meaning that it's worth $2,500 for your $100 initial investment, $40 provided and $60 borrowed, you still only have to pay that $60. And so for that $100, you have a position that closes at $2,500. That's a 25x. Now, does that happen? It's possible. Not in my experience. I haven't experienced a 25x with leasing. What leasing does do for you is provide you a leveraged platform, but also provide you a safety net, because you're leasing part of the position with actual collateral covering that position, and then borrowing the other part of that position. So the safety net is there. So even though you're doing a 2.5x of leverage, you are covered with that $40 with the actual underlying asset that you're leasing. And so you have that much leeway. You can go down to 2.5 cents or 2.2 sorry, where is it? Yeah, 2.5 cents before you get only partially liquidated, as opposed to other approaches such as Levana, where you are committed to a 5x leverage or a 10x leverage or a 30x leverage, or with 4x up to 100x leverage. But when the liquidation occurs, your position is gone because you're fully leveraged in those positions. Here on Nolus, you're leasing. So you're providing collateral to cover and actually capture part of that asset which you're leasing, which provides a buffer of protection for the rest of that asset that you're borrowing. So it's like partially buying and partially borrowing a set of assets to build your position. Okay, so let's go ahead and lease stars. And why am I leasing stars? Because Sumo said that there's a group of assets that he feels confident about growing over the next years. Star is one of those. So I am placing a position, a leveraged position, based upon Sumo's statement, based upon his experience and insight into which protocols are going to do well and which protocols aren't. Now, this is not on Sumo at all. This is all on me. So Sumo says, okay, something's going to go up. Anybody can say something is going to go up. But based upon his experience and insight into the market, I'm placing a position based upon my tolerance for risk of what I want to do with that, his sharing of his knowledge to place a position into my portfolio. The responsibility is 100% mine, but my insight is that Sumo said a few years ago, hey, Kuji is happening. And that was when Kuji was around 1 cent. If I had listened to him then, I would be in a very different position with my staked Kuji than I am right now. So I'm replaying what happened before when Sumo said something and something turned out well. I'm replaying that so that I can, a year from now, say, hey, Sumo said Stars is going to do this. I listened to him this time, placed the lease position, and yes, it went up 25x. Behold, I made $2,400 based upon a $100 investment because I was willing to listen to this approach and take a very small risk position for a potential growth from that risk. Okay, so just sort of like do your own research kind of thing. Like this is not on Sumo at all. This is my insight into my own portfolio and my decision to do this. Okay, so going with Stars, going to lease $40 Axel USDC, and I'm getting a position size of 2639. So let's just record that position of how it's going to be. Well, let's open the position first. Leave it small enough. So I have 64 Nolus tokens, and it's only going to cost me 0.005 Nolus tokens. And this is just a warning so that you don't use all your Nolus tokens and wonder what happened to you. Say leasing. Okay, and then success. So I'm going to record this transaction so you see how I do the work that I do. What I have is I have a set of leverage positions that I maintain. One of them is for Nolus, and you see that currently I have no positions open on Nolus, but I did before. And I had both leasing and hedging. I'm not going to get into a hedging discussion right now, but let's just switch this up a bit and say I have some Stars. I'm going to lease it. I'm going to buy it. What year is this? And I bought it at, let's not worry about that right now. We'll fill that field in later. Shares in, we'll fill that in for Nolus, surcharge. We'll get that later. Fees, total, 10%. Collateral, I'm using 40, Axel USDC. Price, blah, put in that leverage. Okay, and then let's put in the reference number, which is the transaction ID that I'm using. Okay, this is 0.02 Nolus is the charge. So that surcharge is the cost of Nolus, which I'll put in 1 as a holding for right now, and I'll fix that later. Okay, so I'm done with this transaction. Thank you. And I have a position now opened. So Nolus, when I open a position, Nolus now shares with me a tab of what my position looks like. And it says, over the past 24 hours, this is what Stars looks like. Stars is now at 3.7 cents per. So let's put that as a price. Okay, and then what are my shares? My shares are this. Let's put that. We're going to have to fix the surcharge eventually. And then debt. So I'm going to have to pay off $60.002 in order to close out the position. Interest, well, repay the position. Repay. Interest is 16.9%. Interest due 0.002. So it looks like they're already charging interest, even though that was crossed out. Whatever, we shall see. Okay, great. Let's go to our assets. And it says my portfolio. I'm leasing approximately $100 worth. I have $60 of debt, both yes. Profit and loss is I've lost 76 cents so far. The horror. And I'm getting some rewards. They just updated my portfolio to show that I have some Nolus and I have some Axel USDC in my portfolio. Most of it is now deployed into a position. And that position is the lease position. Okay, so let me update my spreadsheet with the price of Nolus. And so my surcharge is currently nada. The price of USDC is $1 per. So I have $40 in total deployed. And so this spreadsheet now tells me that because I've deployed $40 worth to cover 2.6K worth of stars valued at 3.77 cents per, that means that I have approximately $100 worth of stars now leased, which means because I have $40 of that committed as collateral, my leverage is 2.48x or 2.5 times. What is Nolus doing with my stars? Because if I look in my wallet, if so I'm looking at my assets and I have 0.000 stars. Why don't I have any stars since I just leased them? Well, when you lease with Nolus, what Nolus does for you is they farm those stars for you. They put it into a farm so that it is now leveraged at 2.5x. And so it's just chugging along so that if the price goes up to 4 cents, up to 5 cents, up to 6 cents, up to 7 cents, up to 7.5 cents, boom, your value has just doubled times 2.5 goes up to 80 cents, which is 25 times 2.5. So I pay off the $60. It's gone up to 80 cents. It's worth $2,500. I spent $100 for it. Great. Okay, so that's what Nolus does it. So I originally went into Nolus and I said, great, I can for $40 get $100 worth of stars. I'll go back to us, transfer them to Osmosis, sell them for $100, come back here, and then lease $250 worth of stars with that $100 I now have, and then just multiply myself up to become a trillionaire. It doesn't work that way. What you do is you lease the asset. Nolus holds on to those leased asset. It's a contract. You're signing a contract. I am leasing stars. So they're not my stars. They're Nolus's stars. And so when I'm done leasing them and I have the $60 to repay, I say, okay, I have Axel USDC and I'm going to repay with $60 worth. And then boom, it repays the position, closing out the position. Yeah, 0 to 2, however much a month. So it must be lower than that amount. So 100%. I repay the complete thing, and then Noah says, "Thank you for repaying the lease. Now we're going to give you 2,500 or 2.6K worth of stars." Great. Let's close this out. Instead, if I'm like, okay, I just want to get rid of everything here. Then I'll say, okay, here's all your stars back. I don't want to do anything with it. I close the position, and that Nolus says, okay, to close that position, you paid us $40. You're giving us all our stars back. But since stars have fallen a little bit in price, we're also going to hold on for another USDC to balance out the price drop of stars. Now, stars has dropped more than 1% while this conversation has gone on, but I'm only paying $1 back, which is like 2.5%. So the lease is also a protection for you in that way, and that it doesn't eat your shirt at a very fast rate like other leveraging platforms can do. If you want to really leverage your assets and make a lot of profit quickly or get liquidated really quickly, then you employ another leveraged asset like Levana, for example. But if you want to leverage an asset and protect your liquidity in that leverage, Nolus is an excellent place to do that, because that you put some of your liquidity into the lease, and then that covers a part of that asset, those stars in this case. Therefore, providing padding and protection over the rest of the lease, over the rest of the leverage, so that a swing in the market doesn't hit you as hard and as fast as normal leveraging. Nolus like to say, and I'm paraphrasing here, that leasing is leveraging with safety and protection. And that's how they go about doing it. You're putting some of your liquidity as the lease into the asset that you're buying to cover the borrow that you have. Okay, so I just leased 2.6K worth of stars. And you saw that when I went to close the position, I'm going to owe them $1 because this little squiggle right here, and the cost of the lease itself, the transactions, have made me lose $1 of that $40 that I put up. So this is a long game. Unlike other, for me, when I'm leveraging at 10x on Levana, I'm going to make on a $100 investment $40, or I'm going to get liquidated that day. So making $40 on a $100 investment within the span of a day is a 40% ROI, and the APR on that is incredible. Here, we're talking about a 2.5x, and we're also talking about a much more stately ROI and an APR that takes a lot more time for you to see gains on, unless like stars goes up to $5 per right now. So it's really not a factor of time, it's a factor of price movement. But because the protection that the lease provides padded into the leverage that you're using with the lease kind of slows things down in the leveraging perspective. And it slows things down, so the price movement of your asset has less impact both on the gain side and on the loss side. You're less likely to make a lot of money quickly by leasing assets, and you're also much less likely to get liquidated fully by leasing assets. That's the trade-off of leasing versus more traditional kinds of leverages with perpetual contracts, like on Levana, for example. Okay, great. Okay, so again, I don't have the stars in hand, so they're not assets that I hold in my hand. It's a lease contract. And with the contract, if I want to get those stars, I repay that $60.004 to get those stars. Or if I say, no, this isn't working out for me, I can close the contract and get some of my money, all of my money plus a little bit extra. If I never take the stars in the first place and say, no, I'm just going to close the position. So closing the position, you don't get the asset you're leasing. The leasing contract goes away and you get charged however much the difference is, and if there's a loss. When you repay or pay, I like to say, you pay this debt and you do get the stars. So if stars go up to 7.5 cents per or double, I still pay the $60, but I get the benefit of $200 worth of stars for only paying $100 for it. Yes. Okay. So that's my brief tour of Nolus protocol, talking about leasing. Please read their documentation to get a full explanation of leasing, as opposed to my explanation, which I use as a to work with leverage in the Nolus protocol. I talked about how to purchase assets on Osmosis DEX, transfer those assets over to Nolus so that you have gas on Nolus. To transfer liquidity onto Nolus, I did not cover that, but what you can do is you can, if you have, for example, Axel USDC on Kujira, you can go to your Kujira wallet and I have $1, say. You can send this, my mistake. You can do an IBC transfer. Because it's not showing that I have Axel USDC. There it is. So what I would do is I would do an IBC transfer, send it to the Axelar chain, and then on the Nolus side, so let's say I was going to send all my Axel USDC. Then on the Nolus side, I would go to assets, I would go to Axel USDC, and I would transfer by receiving from Osmosis. So what in that case, then I would have to go to Osmosis, go to USDC, and do a deposit. It's not helping me there. So I would have to transfer the assets to Alexar, and then once they're at Alexar, I would transfer the assets from Alexar to Osmosis, and then once the assets are in Osmosis, I would go to my assets page on Nolus, go to Axel USDC, do the transfer button, and say from the Osmosis network, I'm looking for this amount of Axel USDC. Currently, there's no Axel USDC, and do a receive. Okay, so it's hop, hop, hop from Kujira to Alexar to Osmosis, then to Nolus. So Nolus, like Levana is based on the Osmosis chain. So you don't just start trading on Levana if you have assets in Kujira. You have to transfer those assets over to Osmosis in order to work on the Osmosis chain where Levana is. Nolus is in its own blockchain. So Nolus needs assets in the Nolus blockchain, in the Nolus zone, in order for you to use that as collateral and lease assets that way. And to do that, normally you have to send assets to Osmosis. And that's why I would recommend that you have some Osmo on Osmosis. You have some Osmo available on Osmosis. I currently have 100 because of trades that I've done on Levana. but you know, have at least 1 or 10 Osmo available on that blockchain, so you can transfer assets to and from Osmo to eventually either like send Nolus tokens, which I showed you earlier, from Osmosis, or receive tokens that are on the Osmosis blockchain to Nolus via the Nolus asset page. And that's how you get liquidity onto the Nolus blockchain. You need liquidity on the Nolus blockchain so that you can create a lease. And so I had already 46 actual USDC on the Nolus blockchain, and therefore I was able to open a lease by using 40 of those actual USDC to open a lease of $100 worth of stars to lease. Thank you very much.